of justice. You do something wrong, I acknowledge it, but I'm not going to do anything about it. Amaziah has a sense of justice. He knows the law of God. He does. He says, I'm going to execute my father's assassins, but nothing more than that. That's justice. That's evening the scales. But then when he wins the battle, he throws 10,000 people off a cliff to their death. Why does he have to do that? Everything begins to spin out of control. In Romans chapter 12, verse 19, it's not for us to take vengeance. Whatsoever a man reaps, the same he's going to sow in its season. And when we have the opportunity to do good, we shouldn't withhold it from other people. It's funny how some people like some laws, but they blatantly ignore other laws, isn't it? They like some laws, but they don't like other laws. And in the Bible, you see this irked Jesus. He got angry at the Pharisees. He says, you guys get so uptight about money. You guys get all worked up about, did you tithe on the mint, on the little plants? Did you tithe when you were in your little garden? Did you give 1 out of every 10 radishes? Did you give 1 out of every 10 carrots? You're so precise to make sure that everybody's paying, but you completely ignore the weightier matters of the law. And people are like that, aren't they? Jesus makes a joke. He says, you strain out a gnat out of your soup, but you let the very hoof in the middle of your soup, and you just eat around it. You ever watch that TV show Fear Factor, or maybe Survivor, and they got to eat those big old grubs, big old eyes, and fat little plump bodies, and they're moving in the plate back and forth, and you got to pick them up and chew them, and then swallow them. Oh, man, it's revolting. I remember one guy picked one up, and then he did this. He dusted it off, and then he went to eat it. But I'm thinking, why would you dust it off? Is the dust worse than the grub? Because I kind of think the dust is probably better than the grub. Did you have to pick the little piece of cloth off? Was that important to you consuming it? And that's the joke. You're about to eat something disgusting. It's like the guy that orders a salad with no salad dressing because he's watching his calories. Well, what would you like to drink? Well, I would like an extra large chocolate fudge milkshake. I just have to keep up my intake. No, I mean, it doesn't make sense. And James addresses this. He says, you condemn people that lie, but you steal. You condemn people that are engaging in this kind of sexual immorality, but you're engaged in this kind of sexual immorality. In other words, you have a sense of right and wrong, but you're not doing much about it. You're doing the wrong thing. You're willing to point the finger, but you're not willing to point the finger at yourself. And this kind of selective thinking is what really got Jesus angry, because they would go too far. In James chapter 2, verse 13, it says, when wrath is given without mercy, then it will be returned without mercy. In the book of 1 Corinthians, you see this terrible sin of a man that's sleeping with his stepmother. And the Apostle Paul says, this is outrageous. Even the heathen, even the pagans, they don't do stuff like that. A young man sleeping with his stepmom, what's wrong with you guys? And you guys haven't even corrected this guy? He says, you got to kick that guy out of the church. You can't let him keep coming to the assembly and worshiping with you and taking communion with you. You got to deal with that, pastor. And so by the second time he writes saying, hey, listen, that young man that you kicked out of the church, he's repented, he's changed, he's sorry for what he did. He wants to come back in and says, restore him, brother. In other words, there's a time where we have to be hard. We got to discipline. And there's a time to bring about restoration. There has to be a balance in the kingdom of God. And in Amaziah, this guy goes way too far. He has a sense of what's right and wrong. And I fear that many of us, we have a sense of what's right and wrong, but we kind of pick and choose what's worse to us. And what we think is the worst sin. We should be those that say, God, renew in my heart a right spirit. St. Augustine said it like this, Lord, make me pure. But not yet. Lord, take away